the org model of the future are organizations that are much more integrated, cross-functional, and really working in a geek term value stream wide, as opposed to kind of functional matrix, which we all invented in the 1900s. This is Leading at the Frontier, a series of discussions around how AI is changing the nature of work and how you can lead your organization with confidence. I'm Katy George, Corporate Vice President of Workforce Transformation.
And I'm Jeana Jorgensen, Corporate Vice President of Global Skilling. Excellent. This first episode is about AI transformation guidance and recipes. So my first question for you, Katy, is your team has developed a frontier transformation playbook that I think is chock full of really great prescriptive guidance on just helping people get started. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's in that book?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what we found is that just giving people Copilot and prompt training wasn't enough to really move business performance. And you ended up with some people getting 200% more productive and other people 2% more productive. So we actually did 75 different case studies of Microsoft's own internal transformation stories to identify the patterns that really worked to connect AI solutions into workflow in a way that really drove performance, and by the way, also make people happier in their jobs. And what we've defined is 3 different recipes in our playbook, 3 different ways to do this. They're all about making knowledge work more visible. So much of knowledge work is tacit, it's unwritten, it's not in any playbook or guidebook anywhere. And so the first is defining, looking at a persona and really following a persona along kind of their workflow and then connecting AI solutions to make that persona more effective. But rolling that out to everybody who plays the role. And then as citizen developers come up with even better stuff, rolling it out to everybody. The second is really redesigning workflow. So looking end to end, lots of different people, often lots of different organizations involved, doing a Gemba walk, doing a value stream map, a Kaizen to really optimize that workflow and then transform it with AI. And the third we call an AI first incubator, which is getting a group of experienced people who know what the outcomes are, what good looks like, to really immerse themselves as a team, not just one discipline, in the latest and greatest AI tools, and then redesign how work happens AI first.
All 3 of those things are so important, and I think people are just looking for the guidance on what do I actually do. I'm excited about AI, or maybe I'm fearful of AI, but I still know I want to get started and I just don't know how. So I love that your Frontier Transformation Playbook just gives them guidance on what steps to take. Fantastic.
Exactly.
And I will say that you can't apply AI to a work design that is not actually functioning properly. You need to redesign for the optimal workflow to reduce handoffs and reduce any broken parts of the process, and then you can apply AI to make it even better. But you can't apply AI on top of something that's already broken and you're trying to fix.
I totally agree. It's why when we talk about what are the elements that have to come together, process capability, what we call continuous improvement capability, is foundational. And I would just add also that you need people capability to redesign how people work in the system as well.
Yes, for sure. Can AI transform specific roles, in your opinion?
Absolutely. We've defined a playbook that gives us 3 different ways to connect AI solutions into workflow in a way that really delivers business performance. And one of them is transforming roles, looking at the day in the life of a specific role, whether it's a sales rep or a comms professional, and understanding all the different places where a prompt or an agent can really accelerate the way that that role works. This allows us to really get business value from even simple Copilot prompts and ensures that everybody is using best practice rather than having some people really transform dramatically with the Copilot and others not very much.
Yeah, and what we were talking about role-specific transformation, it's so critical to have the person in that role help you design it because they live that experience every single day. It would be very difficult for me, who has not experienced that role and doesn't understand the lived experience, to be able to go and redesign a workflow for them. So making sure that role specifically is part of the conversation and is part of the design is critical.
100%. And actually the most effective change management programs that we're running are where practitioners in the role are teaching and leading. The power users are teaching each other.
Yes.
Great. Okay, can we utilize AI to transform entire workflows, not just one person's role?
I sure hope so. We are seeing that every day. And I think right now what we're seeing is fixing different parts of the workflow. We're seeing a lot of picking a particular segment and having an agent solve that segment of the workflow. We're also seeing complete workflows being fully redesigned end to end. And you can pick and choose how it works for you, right? If there's a portion of the workflow that you can carve off and minimize the time by a certain percent, that's fantastic. Ultimately, you want to see that entire workflow redesigned, but you can start with just a segment of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We think about this as our kind of recipe around workflow transformation, where you often start with the value stream map. And I'm actually quite excited about our newest product features, A365, for example, and Cowork, as something that will make it even easier to transform whole end-to-end workflows with AI.
Yes, yes. How do you think teams can reinvent the way they work?
Well, I actually think that we're really in a mode where we're moving from individual adoption and individual productivity, individual skilling, to how teams change the way they work. We have a program called Camp Air, which brings whole teams of product development folks, so the software engineers, the product managers, and the designers all together to immerse themselves not just in the toolkit for their discipline, but actually learning all of the AI tools for each other's disciplines as well. And then they redesign the way that they work. And we tell them, leave your disciplines at the door. You are no longer defined by kind of what your job was before. And what we find is people get really jazzed up about working in a much more integrated way, playing somewhat different roles than they used to, and really accelerating their work. People come out of this super excited, and we end up with a much more effective product development process.
Yeah, I love that. And if you even extend beyond product development, one of the things we've learned is actually, when we think about squad development within product development teams, we're actually bringing the go-to-market folks into those squads these days because you can iteratively develop every week and get feedback immediately instead of waiting 3 months from when a business requirements documentation is given to somebody.
Absolutely.
So what we are seeing left and right is the more integrated we have across all of the areas of GTM, not only does it create faster workflows and faster time to market, but it actually creates an empathy within each discipline across each other to understand, oh, I understand why you need this information earlier so you can design the product release strategy, or I understand why you want to give us that feedback earlier so we're not having to go back and completely redesign a feature we thought you wanted, right? And so this notion of squads expanding across discipline has been life-changing for us.
Yeah. I think that's the org model of the future, are organizations that are much more integrated, cross-functional, and really working in a geek term value stream wide, as opposed to kind of functional matrix, which we all invented in the 1900s and maybe has lived to the end of its useful life.
This proves even more that no org design is perfect. Right. And it's really about the mindset each of the teams goes into working on a particular project and the cross-disciplinary discipline that you actually have to have, right? You need to have the discipline to be able to work across so many different teams and have these inputs all integrated earlier in the product development lifecycle. It's been fascinating. Excellent. Okay, so tell us, what do people do to get started? What do they do now?
Okay, 3 things I would say. First, be really clear about what business outcome you're trying to achieve. This, as we talked about, is a business transformation, not a tech project. So what it means is we have to be really clear about what are we trying to accomplish. It may not be, by the way, labor cost takeout. That may not be the most valuable thing that AI can do for you. It might be innovation, quality, insight. So be really clear about what the business outcome is and how you're going to measure it. Number 2, really think about making knowledge work more visible. So how do we actually, as you said, so much of knowledge work is tacit in our brains, and how do we make it visible so that we can reinvent it? And third, use a combination of these different recipes we talked about, the persona-based approach, the end-to-end workflow approach, or what we're calling an AI incubator, like the Camp Air description that I had.
I love it. Thank you for joining. We'll see you in the next episode.